All right, hey guys, Jerry from Showtime Audio. So we have Joel's brand new 2025 GMC Sierra EV. So again, we always get the question, can you do a big stereo on an EV? So this has a ton of power. It has 2 amplifiers, a 8-channel DSP, and a 1,000-watt mono block. So, and tons of audio. So we're gonna walk you through it and show you how everything went. All right, so client wanted bass, right? And that is not an easy feat in this truck, only because the back wall actually folds down. So you can remove the glass and the back wall, wood, whatever you're carrying, all the way to here. So in order to keep that functioning, we had to build a box that's really low and doesn't take up a ton of space so that the seats will still fold down. We'll show you that in a second. But we wanted to do a little something extra because it is an EV and we did want to step it up a little bit. Plus we wanted to push our limits and see how big we could go. So we actually fit 4 12s in here. It is nuts. The fact that you could get 4 12s under the seat of this pickup is, and no seat lift, no nothing. It looks stock. We kept the trim. We did have to do some modifications, but it looks factory. Check it out. Ta-da! So 4 12s, look at this. That is absolutely ridiculous to think that you could get 4 12s. And if you look at the side profile of the box, it's not very tall. Now we did have to glass the entire belly in order to have the correct amount of airspace. Took a lot longer because we had to kind of piece it together and get the width. If you can see, the woofers are right to the edge. And then these woofers actually, the passives actually had to be countersunk because we'll show you. I'm gonna close the seat. If you take a look right here, that woofer is insanely close, but it does not hit. We checked, it full tilt, doesn't even touch. Now, the other thing is, see, these woofers are the actives and they luckily were further forward, but we also had to be conscious of these legs. The legs actually sit right here. So when you close the seat, you can see the leg sits here and here. And if you see how close it is to that sub, I mean, just a huge, huge amount of work. The client is still able to fold it down, not all the way down, but you could still access it and you could still get a few more feet out of it. Or if you're riding up, you can get a little bit more out of it. But see, in this one, this comes off and then this folds. So you can still get to it, but it is a little bit limited. You have to give up something. Now, the nice thing is, if he absolutely needs that, the box is removable. You do have to pull a sub in order to access the bolts that hold it down, but it's not super complicated if he ever absolutely needed to. We also have one of our PowerWorks connectors like we always do. So it's literally remove the bolt, unplug it, and remove it. Now, we could do it without the bolt, but then, and the box fits in there so snug, it wouldn't go anywhere. But just in case, we want it to be secured to the vehicle. This is the final result. So we actually changed the box design. We found that 2 12s worked much better in the amount of airspace that we had. I mean, it sounds amazing. It's hard to believe that it's 2 12s and the seat still flips down and folds and does all its thing. Now, what we did end up doing is this accent piece. So the grille on this car lights up this way. The grill actually lights up, and this is, it's hard to see with the light, but this is actually a gray acrylic that matches the body. There you go. So now you can see the gray acrylic, and then this is the outside lighting. So it just matches the truck and it kind of ties the enclosure into the truck itself. So, and then the cool thing is seats still flip and lock, so no loss of functionality there. They fit by the hair of their chinny chin chin, that's for sure. This vehicle definitely fought. I mean, every once in a while we get cars that fight, especially when they're brand new vehicles. So this is a brand new vehicle, and by it being an EV, they changed quite a bit. On a lot of the newer Silverados, GMCs, all the new GM platform products, they have interfaces if it has Bose. This vehicle does have Bose. None of those interfaces work for this vehicle yet. I'm sure there will be an update, a modification, a harness, something that allows us to use that interface. The reason the interface is super useful is because it flattens out the EQ. So what the factory does, what Bose does, is they do a ton of EQing to make their not so good speakers sound better. And that makes our life difficult because they're using all kinds of things like all pass filters, delay, a combination of things that make it very difficult to integrate into the vehicle. So sometimes you have to make changes because the product that you were using or the equipment that you thought would work doesn't. And so now you have to make an adjustment in order to make it sound phenomenal. So this is definitely one of those cases, but now that we've made the adjustments, now we know. So unfortunately, it's part of the learning curve. It's part of learning the language, and it's part of doing it first or being one of the first. Luckily, I have a lot of friends that also are in this industry, and they help me out quite a bit. Thanks, guys. That really got it dialed in, and now the thing sounds amazing. As far as the amplifiers, so most pickup trucks builds that we do, we mount amplifiers behind the seat. It's dead space, and we're able to mount a ton of gear behind there. But in this vehicle, we're very limited. There is no space. So there's no space behind the wall because the wall is removable and folds down. No space under the seat because we took it all with the subwoofer enclosure. So we ended up going with 2 amplifiers. This is our epicenter and our monoblock. This is our SR500. So both of these are mounted under here, and they're mounted to the vehicle. And basically you do that, and it's out of the way. We'll show you the 6-channel on the other side. So, and that's our 6-channel. So, and basically what it allows us to do is the client wanted louder, much louder, and just more power. We're using K2s in here, as well as some 2-inch Blam widebands. So he wanted louder. In order to get that, we needed an amp, a 6-channel that has a ton more power. Then we could supply with a DSP integrated amp. So DSP amplifiers, we use them a lot. You see them in a lot of our videos. The problem with amplifiers with DSP is typically their output is limited. You know, let's say 70 watts, 90 watts, which is good power, don't get me wrong. In most situations, that's phenomenal, right? But when you really want some power, really want it loud, like really want it impactful, you need 120, 150, 180, 200. And then you really get some performance out of these speakers. So the K2s are known for taking a ton of power, and so we wanted to give them what they wanted. All right, as far as the DSP, we integrated it into the center console. So again, real estate is not, there's not a ton of space in here because of that folding rear wall. If it didn't have the folding rear wall, all the gear can go right on the back wall, makes it super easy. But because of that folding rear wall, it makes it a ton more difficult, ton more involved. And so we had to come up with a way to mount the DSP securely and put it somewhere where it's not going to be in the way, and that was in the center console. So this is a perfect example. Sometimes having the best gear doesn't lead to the best result. If that gear doesn't happen to work with that vehicle or with those limitations of the vehicle or with what the client is after, then that, even though it's great equipment, it doesn't solve the problem, right? So sometimes we have to make adjustments and either change out equipment, add equipment, remove equipment, which we had to do all of that in this vehicle. Again, not great, but it's part of the learning curve. The great thing about going forward is now we know what we can and can't do, what works and what doesn't. That's the good thing about going somewhere where they've done the vehicle before, because a lot of these problems are things that you don't know until you get into the vehicle. You know, you can plan as much as you want, but not many people have done the vehicle. There's only a few other people in the entire country that have done this vehicle. What's up, Carlos? Other than him and a couple of others, there's very few that have done the truck. Now, there's a lot of people that have done the Hummer EV, but the truck is different. So again, It has to be basically the same vehicle. So in this vehicle, in order to get more highs and more highs up top, so typically on this car, it only comes with a 2-inch wideband. So the 2-inch wideband is it's a speaker like this. It's a 2 3/4-inch speaker that acts as a mid/tweeter. That's why it's called a wideband, because it covers a wide band of audio. So in order to retain that or to get more highs, we ended up going with a 2-inch Blam wideband, and then we mounted the Focal frac tweeters right here in the pillars. The nice thing is, with this new finish, they literally look like they could have came there from the factory. But adding the 2-inch wideband and putting the tweeters up here brings the sound stage up so much. I mean, typically in these cars, we would have put the tweeter in this spot right here, but you're losing a lot of information. You're losing a lot of the middle, and now you have the middle trying to play out of the mid-bass drivers. But by moving it up here, brings the stage up, reflects off the glass, and just gives you much better experience overall. As far as the sub-knob control, we went with the Epicenter sub-knob because this way you're able to use one knob that does dual function. So it has an outer ring and an inner knob. The outer ring controls the effect, the amount of effect or extra bass that you're getting, and the center is the level of the sub, so the level of bass that you're getting. In order to not make any holes, we mounted it right here, right behind the screen. So you can still access both knobs, but it's not really visible, and we didn't have to make any holes in order to do that. Again, especially on brand new cars, we never want to make holes, right? We always try to do it using existing mounting points, all that stuff. Now, obviously, sometimes that is not always possible in order to secure things and make things properly mounted. But whenever we can, we try, and everything that we do, we can reverse, or we can make it look as if it was factory there to begin with. Now, the other thing that we did is we sound treated it. So we sound treated the doors, both, all 4 doors. So we did stage 2 on all 4 doors. Show you. See how it thuds? I mean, it's a huge. It's a huge difference, right? So just so you know, so this is the original vapor barrier. So there is a hole this big in the door. And the thing is, when the bass hits, the mid bass from the door speaker, this piece flexes and you're losing energy. So you're losing energy, you're losing sound basically. So in order to stop that, we machined the composite block off plate and then deadened that as well. It's still serviceable because we ended up putting in screws in order to mount it. But if you did need to service it, you just remove the screws, take off the block off plate, put it back on. It's actually easier than this because this thing is held on with this glue from hell that does not like to come off. But it makes, when you go to take it off, you in essence destroy this. So you kind of, well, we didn't destroy it, but it never goes on the same way again. So with the block off plate, it's like a removable and replaceable part. You can literally unscrew it, service it, put it back, unscrew it, service it, put it back. So it actually makes it easier. Now it's a couple of bolts, but you don't have to peel it. And then I've seen people cut them and then duct tape them back together, or just rip them off completely, and you're killing your mid bass. I mean, you're killing the output out of those door speakers. You want the door speaker to be in the best possible enclosure. That is not the best possible enclosure. Obviously, I'm exaggerating it. It's not doing that, but it might as well be, and because you're losing efficiency, you're losing energy. So block off plates for the rear and for the front, which basically makes the doors enclosures, boxes, if you will. They're as sealed as possible. Obviously, they're never gonna be perfect because you still have the window track, you still have, a bunch of stuff in there, but we do the best we can in order to get the best possible performance we can. So a lot of times we get asked, what's the sound treatment for? For blocking noise? Is it for quieting the car? Is it for helping the stereo? Yes, it's for all of it. It serves a bunch of purposes. One is it quiets the outside, right? Because now you have 2 layers of deadening. So now instead of just sheet metal, and plastic, you have sheet metal, deadener, and then the plastic. So you're increasing the layers and it's making the cabin quieter. The nice thing about making the cabin quieter is your stereo sounds louder, right? Because it's not competing with all the buzzing and the vibrations and the noise that's coming from the outside, right? That's number one. Number two is it creates an enclosure for the speaker. So now the speaker is in, hold on. So now the speaker is in a solid enclosure, not a tin can, right? So, and if you don't believe it, try it. Put your speaker in a tin can or a really, horrible box and then put it in an actual enclosure. The difference will be tremendous. And then third, it actually has an aluminum barrier, which helps, it acts like a cooler, if you will, or a thermos. It keeps the heat in and the cold out and vice versa, depending on the time of year, right? So there's actually 3 benefits. It lowers road noise, increases the output of your speakers, and acts as a thermal barrier, like a thermal insulator. So we have clients that we've done the whole car and they're like, yeah, after I get out, I come back and it's still warm because it's holding in the heat. Or vice versa, they have the AC on, they leave, they come back, the car's still cool because again, it's like a giant cooler or thermos, whatever you want to call it. Now that's more when we do complete back wall, doors, floor, roof, like the entire interior, right? Because now you have an entire, it's like all encased, right? This one is basically more for the audio portion of it to help lower the outside noise and to help increase the output of the drivers. A lot of times we get asked why this brand or why this style, right? So this style is a 3-layer style. It has butyl, foil, and then cell foam. Personally, it's our personal preference. We do use other that are just the butyl and the foil, but we prefer this because we kind of use it as a double function. So one is it has the deadener, but then we use the foam to create seals. So like when we mount our door adapters, the foam makes a seal. So when we bolt in our adapter, it creates a gasket around it. When we bolt in our block off plates, it creates a gasket around it. So it just kind of makes it a little bit more efficient. Plus, it's still more mass. It may not, depending on where you put it, it helps as far as that, but it adds more mass to it. The more mass something has, the more it takes to resonate, to vibrate. So you're adding weight. That's basically what the deadener is doing. It's adding mass and making it so that it takes much more energy to make that panel vibrate or flex.
Visit our website at showtimeaudiochicago.com.